Hey, plebe, wanna watch something cool? Joe? Where the fuck have you been? I thought you died or something. Nah, I was just hanging out with my other friends. Your other friends? What's wrong with me? Aside from the fact that you always tell me to get out of your house, well, you've been a real negative Nancy lately, plebe. Talking about all these things you hate. A hate tier list? Jesus Christ, when was the last time you made a positive review of something? You're right. I have been a negative Nancy. Quick, name something I like. China? No. Illinois? Better. China, Illinois? Joe, you're a lifesaver. Have you ever watched something that you thought was so funny and unique that it still makes you giddy when you think about it years later? I have. I still feel that way about Rocko's Modern Life and The Life and Times of Tim. And, like those shows, China, Illinois is a very special series to me. In this case, as much for its internet origins and the history of its creator, Brad Neely, as for the fact that it was a hilarious and standout show on Adult Swim. But this show is different because in this case, you really can't talk about the one without talking about the other. This series is one that is tied closely with its creator and his artistic style, and with what it was before it became a show, and so I have to do a first on this channel. This will not only be an installment of That's Good TV for China, Illinois, it will also be an installment of That's Good Internet for Brad Neely. That's right, it's a 2-for-1 sale on the man's career, kinda like how I did for David Firth, because Brad Neely created a story that started online and ended on television. And for this reason, he is unique. Many have made the jump from the internet to TV by now, but Brad Neely was one of the first, and on top of that, he continued the same series on TV as he had been online. He didn't have to write a brand new show for TV. He didn't get guest spots on other people's shows. A network looked at what he had done online and said, "We want this. We want China, Illinois." And then, when he made that jump, it was excellent. So make yourself some Canada cakes and get ready to be aggressive. Because we're about to go down to the lake and sing songs to the lake about the lake. This is my love letter to the whimsical world of Brad Neely and China, Illinois. One day, long ago, Brad Neely and his friends were sitting at a bar and noticed a man playing pool by himself wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, and wearing headphones. They tried to guess what he was listening to, and Neely pitched the idea that he was listening to a Harry Potter audiobook. Neely then started improvising what such a book would sound like. His friends thought it was so funny that he decided to just dub himself narrating the first Harry Potter movie. This dub, released in 2003, became Wizard People, Dear Reader, a video that became an internet sensation. While Wizard People isn't very representative of his later work, it does showcase one of the greatest weapons in Neely's arsenal: his words. Brad Neely knows how to string a sentence together to make it sound funny, and this is something present throughout Wizard People. Though, I gotta admit, I was never really a fan of the video. I can never seem to make it past the first 10 minutes, though I've tried a few times. It's a whole movie. I feel like it'd be more digestible if it was just short clips from the movie and not the whole thing, but that's just me. But my opinion on Wizard People isn't what matters. What matters is that Wizard People was an overnight sensation on the internet, and beyond. It was aired at film festivals. Neely performed it live. They put him in a Harry Potter documentary. Warner Brothers had to tell theaters airing it that if they didn't stop, they would withhold all of their future films from airing in those theaters. It is still one of Neely's most critically acclaimed works. It got eyes on him, but for me, there were better things to come. And come they would. In the form of CreasedComics.com, which became the home for everything else Neely made before he was on TV. This was where Brad Neely first started animating. This would change his destiny. Creased Comics history is unique for the internet. Many of these animations would be released to the public in film festivals and on Adult Swim, giving the shorts some viral popularity, but Creased Comics was the central hub for them. At this point, Neely's career in entertainment was gaining some traction as he was briefly a writer for South Park, but Creased Comics, or SuperDeluxe.com as it was known beforehand, became his main creative project. Brad Neely's online animations are very unique for a very specific reason. They aren't really animated. Each cartoon he made on Creased Comics was a series of still drawings with him doing a voiceover. And it's incredible how much is conveyed in these shorts without any motion.
My grandpa gave me strange advice. Olives are fuckable, if you have enough of them.
You can still always tell who's speaking and which characters are moving where. And I'd like to point out that this was 2007 through 2009, a time when Flash animation was still going strong. So compared to all of its peers on the internet at the time, Neely's shorts stood out in a way that looked and felt different. Hell, I don't think Brad Neely ever even uploaded a single one of his shorts to Newgrounds, a bold move for anyone who was actively trying to get their cartoons noticed on the internet back then. Newgrounds brought fame to David Firth, Sick Animation, Lemon Demon, Zao Zao, Madness, Tankmen, Foamy the Squirrel. This was where independent creators aired their cartoons before YouTube really took off. And yet Brad Neely never had a presence there, and despite that, he was, at least to the best of my knowledge, the first one to get his own TV show. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The best way to describe Neely's animation and sense of humor in general is whimsical. The jokes just kinda go where they wanna go, making the punchlines unpredictable no matter how used to the characters we get.
Today on the road I saw something important. I like to think that they died while hugging, and that a person hadn't arranged them afterwards.
I bet you said some shit there that you wish you hadn't said.
Don't be a shit in my cut.
I bet you said that you were, an oversexed lord of the dance. Oh, and that you'd always remember her not as a student, but as a sort of nourishment, like a Momo salad or a Momo burger.
This is something Neely is a master at, hitting you with outrageous random things in a setup where you would expect something else to happen, or for someone to say something different. All you need are core characters and a conflict, and he could turn that into a wild and crazy episode. There is also always something going on in the background of these shorts, as well as the actual TV show, more so than any other cartoon I've reviewed on this channel or have even seen so far. Watching all this stuff again, I had to pause and rewind quite a bit to catch everything. For example, in the Shirley Motes episode of Baby Cakes, it switches back and forth between a portrait of an ass shitting on a lion and a portrait of an ass shitting on a skyscraper. This is sort of incredible. And of course, in the Fliff Night episodes of Professor Brothers, there's just porn playing on their computers while they have a casual conversation. It's clear that Neely also has a love for fantastical creatures, as evidenced by the fact that there is always one sitting in the Professor Brothers lecture halls, and that Baby Cakes actually sees them through the lens of his insane eyes everywhere he goes. Also, I'd be remiss to not mention another key talent that Brad Neely has. The man is a great songwriter.
You got me hurting, you got me pulling curtains. You sucking chili dogs while I go on my craze berserk and be aggressive, aggressive, aggressive.
There is music almost everywhere in the things he creates, especially in these shorts. But the music in the shorts in particular is so fucking catchy. The rhymes are so fun and intricate and tight.
When I was a baby, daddy told me something crazy. He said, son, your mama left me and she went and joined the Navy. I said, dad, you fucking kidding? He said, no, not past the gravy. And the gravy I passed. You know how people say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, I've seen the nearly killed and that just couldn't be more wronger. And the women are supposed to only like the giant dongers. So the gravy I pass to them.
And some are just straight up music videos, which technically makes Brad Neely my favorite music video director of all time. And this was readily apparent in the first short he animated. One of his most enduring works, the music video Washington.
Washington, 6'8", weighs a fucking ton. Opponents beware, he's coming.
Two guys rap a song about George Washington, a rap in which George's exploits become increasingly more bizarre. This was my favorite part. I fucking love this. And it shows how offbeat Neely's sense of humor was. Like, who would think of this? The last time I visited Mount Rushmore, I heard a guy singing Washington, Washington, and I'm not fucking kidding. This video was that big. Washington became a staple of the Brad Neely short. Brad Neely would have plenty of other disconnected shorts, mostly music videos, like Bring the Gold, a song about a leprechaun who wants nothing but gold. The Valentine from Eva Braun, which was actually edited. There was a part involving a chalice that was in this video that may no longer exist. The Kenny Winker hit song, Now We Can Make Love.
There's a ton of shit we gotta do before we can start to make love.
And of course, Fuck the Humans, an epic song wherein a bunch of mythical creatures sing songs about how humans just aren't fucked up or immoral enough. I fucking love this one so much.
At least they kill each other, and at least they fuck each other's butts. Boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ga, ga, boom, ba.
Oh, and then there's American Moments of Maybe, one of his most underrated shorts, which includes Nat Turner's Punch-Out, and the line, My mind is a fucked apart dead thing unless I'm having fun. Brad knew how to write them. Speaking of America, I'd like to take this time to talk about a series Brad Neely did at the same time as the Big Two. America Now. America Now is a series of music videos centered around these two performers dressed in costumes who travel around to random places and perform in front of their transportable stage various songs about American government and culture. These are fucking hilarious. They're such a good example of how something as simple as a still image put to a voice can impart something funny, and this was something Neely was ingenious at. Just the line,
We are killers when it's right.
put to the image of a guy about to shoot a horse that won 5th place in a race it's perfect. This is perfect. I especially enjoy the videos about race and rights. They are hilarious and catchy, and that's the core of these videos.
I screw the whites, I screw the blacks and the grays, I screw the rich, I screw the poor and the gays.
I also love the line, they'll die because they're trying to look on the other side. Oh yeah, I should probably mention Quiblo too while I'm still on the internet stuff. Quiblo was cool because it was a short done in the same style as his older stuff that he released after China, Illinois made it to TV. It was really cool seeing him release something old school like this at this point in his career. And it's yet another super catchy music video. Though it is kinda funny that it says Quiblo #1, like I think he wanted to make more of these but ended up not having time. But none of these would be what I like to call the meat. The meat of Creased Comics that would become 2 series that Neely would make on his website, and these 2 series would become the things that would change everything. I am of course talking about the Professor Brothers and Baby Cakes. The concept of the Professor Brothers is basically college lectures gone horribly wrong. Frank and Steve Smith are 2 American history professors. Frank is the more neurotic one, while Steve is the more put-together one. They both go on long, off-topic, completely false history lectures about everything from the Bible to movies, and occasionally, some American history. In one short, Steve fills in for Frank and basically gives the most offensive lecture possible, blaming Frank for writing the notes.
It was later discovered that Polk was a very active member of the secret society known as the Knights of Sex with Black People.
In another, the 2 performed the song Prisoner Christmas, and it turns out to just be Frank daydreaming in the middle of his lecture hall.
Well, Dee Dee wishes he had asked to see her ID, and Freddie wishes he could kill them again. And Jeremy is just a dreaming for a redo machine, and Dunstan wishes he had never checked in.
Then there's the time Steve and the Dean pranked Frank. And Fifth Night, a 2-part look into Frank's weekend gone wrong. These shorts establish the dynamic between the Professor Brothers, a dynamic that would be important later. Then, of course, there's the other series, centered around my favorite character Brad Neely created. Baby Cakes. Baby Cakes is an enormous, mentally deranged man-baby who believes that the reality he lives in is a magical world. He believes all people are wizards or goblins or trolls, and that a creature named the Brainfuckler wreaks havoc on people's minds. He is legitimately one of my favorite characters of all time. Each episode is Baby Cakes writing in his diary about this and that. Seems simple, right? But the humor in Baby Cakes comes in how he filters the information of the world that he sees in everyday life. I am of the opinion that Baby Cakes is one of the greatest fictional representations of mental illness we've ever gotten. And probably the funniest one. There's just something about Baby Cakes. I don't know what it is. It's just the way he sees things, the way he's adamant about what he's seeing, the lessons he learns from what he sees, the fact that he's a good musician, and, like many good musicians, he uses music to convey how he sees the world. Baby Cakes fucking rules. And speaking of music, remember how I said that Neely has made some of the greatest music videos ever? At least a third of those were Baby Cakes. Be Aggressive, Group Therapy, Lies. These songs are masterpieces.
Let me tell you about this fucking day I'm having. Just let me tell you about this motherfucking day I'm having. You hear me loud and clear? I'm the baby of cakes. Just let me tell you that the devil Taylor made my today.
But then, one day, Neely made a 4-part video called China, Illinois. A story that combined both the Professor Brothers and Baby Cakes. Baby Cakes finds the diary of a professor who died in a car crash, a professor who happened to be dating Frank. Hilarity ensues as Frank loses his entire mind, and Baby Cakes reveals some less than savory secrets from the woman's diary. It was a brilliant, fun way of combining the two series, and, for a few years, this was the last anyone ever heard of these characters.
It's illegal to be naked around dead people.
The original China, Illinois shorts came out in 2008, and for 3 years, that was it. Brad Neely was just doing other stuff. And then, in 2011, it happened.
I see you and you see I, man, I see you and you see I. China, Illinois, China, Illinois.
I saw this trailer, and I lost my fucking mind. At this point, online animators have successfully made the jump to TV multiple times. It's still not easy, but it's been done. And it may have been done before this, but this was the first time I can remember it happening with an animator I was a fan of, and with the same characters from the shorts. But there was a problem with this. All of Neely's animations up until this point hadn't really been animated. They'd just been still images that would change to convey the feeling of animation. And it was clear that that wasn't going to be the case here with this show. And so the big question was, could Brad Neely make the jump from his signature style to real, fluid animation on Adult Swim? And the answer was holy shit, yes. Yes, he could. In China, Illinois, Neely created an entirely new signature style that was yet again unmistakably him. The whimsical nature of the plots of each episode, the jokes having a mind of their own, the humor defying convention, unexpected punchlines hitting hard, all the crazy shit happening in the background of every shot, the secret stuff that you'd need to pause to really read. It's all still there. And let me tell you, the show takes these things to 11. I had to pause this show so many times just to notice things. Like the audience pissing their pants in this clip. I did not catch this the first time I saw it. Or this clip where both Professor Brothers have animals fucking on their computer screens. Or in the episode Dean vs. Mayor, where, during a riot, this one guy rips a dog in half, then at the end of the episode it shows the dog again and he's bandaged up, and the guy kills him again. But even more importantly, the animation looked good. It wasn't just fluid, it was extremely fluid. The movements looked so smooth, and you could tell that the animators had a real passion for animating. The character design is so simple, and yet once stuff starts happening, it looks wild. So what are some other major differences between the TV show and what came before? The voice acting. I forgot to mention, Brad Neely did nearly all of the voice acting in all of these shorts, and he still does Baby Cakes, Frank, and Steve. But now, there's an expanded cast. Most notably, Pony, the biggest addition to the main cast, voiced by none other than Greta Gerwig. She was not a household name yet on this show, but you know who was? Jeffrey Tambor, who is now the voice of Baby Cakes' dad. You know who's also a household name? Hulk Hogan, who does the voice of the Dean. Brooke Hogan, who voices various characters, and such comedians as Jason Alexander, Chelsea Peretti, and Dave Coulier. And the voice acting is great. Yes, even Hulk Hogan and Brooke Hogan are truly talented voice actors. And Neely himself goes even harder on the characters he voices. There is a scene in which he has to do Steve doing Baby Cakes' voice.
What's up, lady? Could I get a bucket of nugs?
That takes a lot of talent. Another difference is in the characters themselves. Baby Cakes, Frank, and Steve are now intensified versions of who they were in the web series. Remember how Frank was neurotic? Well, now Frank is an extremely neurotic narcissist and clout chaser. Remember how Steve was the smooth, practical joker? Well, now he's a smooth ladies man and the coolest professor on campus. Remember how Baby Cakes was a crazy man-baby who filters the world through this cloud of mental derangement? He's still those things, but now you actually see how his insanity affects the world around him. There's this one episode where it's revealed what the world actually looks like through his eyes, and it's hilarious and horrifying. Frank and Steve's toxic-ass relationship is definitely more fleshed out here. There's an episode where they have to go into the dream world, where they appear as whatever they want to be the most, and Frank appears as Steve. Another difference is in the tone of the show. It's a lot darker and more savage than the web series was. You would think it would be the other way around because of censorship and such, but no, the TV show is the one that went full ham with this stuff. There is considerably more violence, death, and mayhem here than in the web series. It also takes the light absurdity found in the shorts to the next level. For example, there is an episode where Pony enters into a relationship with a giant bedbug who is completely unaware that it's in a relationship and just wants to suck Pony's blood. But when she catches it sucking another girl's blood, Pony gets jealous. The show also defies or improves a lot of tropes found in shows. For example, you know how in a lot of sitcoms there's the A plot and the B plot? China, Illinois blends its plot threads together more perfectly than possibly any other comedy show I've seen. Beneath all of its absurdity, China, Illinois does have moments that serve as a statement on the absurdity of college life. In this show, you will find classes that are absolutely meaningless, a staff that doesn't care about its students, an administration that doesn't care about its staff, students who shouldn't be in college in the first place, the inability to get a job that pays well with a college education. So the whole college aspect of the show does not go completely unnoticed. But the real question is the humor still there? Yes. God, yes. The one-liners on this show are out of this world. If you thought Baby Cakes had some great lines in the web series, my God.
I try not to look up so I won't break the fourth wall of God's TV. You mean he's real, like a human being? No, man, he's dead. He's a human being. Okay, so I'm gonna call you Aladdin, cause there is no way that isn't who you are.
And even Frank has some good ones. He insults people the way a high school girl would, and it's hilarious.
Stacy, shut your thin f***ing lips.
I'd also like to point out my least favorite moment on the show, which was this unbelievably gross moment in the episode Chinaman involving back knee. I will not show it, but you have been warned. This was genuinely fucking disgusting, and yeah, I didn't like it. But then, of course, China, Illinois did end after 3 great seasons. Why did it end? Well, I don't know. There is actually a bit of mystery surrounding this. For starters, on Wikipedia and on the actual Brad Neely wiki, which I trust more, it never states that China, Illinois was canceled by the network. The sources that do state that it ended only use one tweet by Brad Neely as evidence. Here is that tweet. Update. China, Illinois is done forever. My other show, called TV Sucks, lives forever and will air soonish. Nowhere in this tweet is it stated that China, Illinois was canceled by Adult Swim. And why would Adult Swim cancel one Brad Neely show that is already sold, marketed, and on the network to replace it with another, completely new and different show by the same guy? It doesn't make sense. One source, just one single source, Vulture.com, states that a rep from Adult Swim has confirmed the cancellation. Now, aside from the fact that this is the only thing that sets this blurb apart from the rest, so trust it at your own leisure, none of this provides a reason or who made the call. But given how that tweet sounded and that one Neely show was replaced with another, I am of the opinion that Brad Neely himself chose to end China, Illinois. Yeah, that's right. What little evidence we have seems to point directly to that. So, thus ended one of my favorite cartoons of all time. And all at the creator's hand, no less. And that was the end. And that sucks. I think this show had a lot more juice left in it. So, after a dream career of creating and writing some of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet or television, Now that the story that started as these little still frames online finally ended in such a spectacular way, what did the future hold for Brad Neely? What did he do next? Nothing! Absolutely nothing. He ended his career on the highest note possible and certainly never made anything bad. Bad? Brad Neely? Are you kidding? Brad Neely is a comedic genius. He can't make anything bad. Oh my God. Brad Neely's Haralan Pipio is legitimately one of the worst fucking things I have ever seen in my life. What the fuck does this even mean? Was there a joke in here somewhere? Did I miss it? What did I just fucking watch? The skits he's doing are trying to be as irrelevant as humor can possibly be, and it's not his style. It completely lacks the charm, and they're just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible show. One Redditor summed it up perfectly when they wrote, "Why was this show so much less funny than every single other thing he has ever done?" Why, Brad? Why? Why'd you do it? You ended China, Illinois because you wanted to make this garbage? Why? Why on earth? There have been a lot of rumors going around that Neely canceled China, Illinois and made this show because he was over television and wanted to make something shitty on purpose, as evidenced from the fact that the original title of the show was TV Sucks. However, when you read how many writers were working on this show, how many skits and songs were written, how much was cut, I don't think this was supposed to be bad on purpose. It seems real effort did go into some aspects of this show. Brad Neely genuinely wanted to make this, and make it good. But it ain't good. This show was a fucking abomination, and was rightfully canceled after its first season. Brad, what were you fucking thinking? Plebe! Positive thoughts, remember? No more negative Nancy! Joe? Was this show real? No, it never happened. Okay, cool. Let's go out strong. Brad Neely did go on to write You, Me, and Ulysses S. Grant, a farcical biography of the general and president. From brief excerpts I've read, it seems to be written in the same tone and humor he used for Wizard People. Oh, Neely also used to make comics that he released on his original website. They were very hit or miss. Some were very funny. Others were not. I really don't have much else to say about these except that they did exist. But let's bring it back home to our favorite town. For a guy like me who had followed these characters since before this show aired, the final episode of China, Illinois felt like the end of a story I'd seen unfolding for years. For a guy who used to laugh with his friends at these simple animated shorts made by a guy on the internet with a great sense of humor, who then got to watch the seemingly impossible happen. That same guy get a show with these same characters, who then got to see the show unfold into one of the funniest things on television, and then finally end, and then to hear from the creator that it was over forever. The journey of China, Illinois felt different than other shows I've watched from beginning to end. It felt bigger, it felt more personal, and after finishing that final episode, my world felt just a little bit emptier. Not only because it was the end of the story of the Professor Brothers and Baby Cakes, a story that I had followed from 2009 when I first watched those shorts to 2015 when that final episode aired, but because this was so much more than the story of these characters. This was the story of Brad Neely, or at least the most integral part of the man's story in entertainment. A man with one of the funniest, most unique senses of humor I've ever seen in any medium. And with an end to our story here, which is only part of his, all I can say is, that's good internet. And that's good TV. That's good comedy. That's good art. Thank you, Brad. Thank you guys for watching yet another episode of That's Good TV. What are your thoughts on Brad Neely? Let me know in the comments. And like, subscribe, and hit that Patreon link, baby.